From the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Okay, let's go. All right. Today is Saturday, March 9th, 2013. My name is Will Griffin, and I am a research associate with the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill oral history program. I am with videographer John Bishop in Albany, Georgia, on the campus of Albany State University to conduct an interview for the Civil Rights History Project, which is a joint undertaking of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture and the Library of Congress. We are here today with Ms. Grace Miller, who played a prominent role in the local Baker County movement. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Miller, and agreeing to share your story with the Civil Rights History Project. So first, I would like to begin with you stating your full name, date, and place of birth.
My name is Grace Hall Miller. My date of birth was July the 21st, 1932.
Okay. So could you talk a little bit about your upbringing, your parents, and...
Yes, my father was named Joe Nathan Hall.
Okay.
My mother was named Nanny Hall. And I was the sixth child, there were six of us, and I was the baby of the group. And we were reared there in Baker County.
Okay.
My father was a farmer.
Okay.
And my mother was a housewife.
Okay.
I grew up, went to school there in Baker County. Mm-hmm. And church also, and I met my husband at church. He's the Baker Countian too.
Okay.
His name was Jose Miller Sr.
Okay.
And we got married in 1946, the 12th day of 1946.
Okay.
In Baker County.
Okay.
And we got married secretly. And his oldest brother told the family, he found out some way that we had gotten married, and because I had to go to school right on. Uh-huh. And my parents were so upset because I was the baby.
Right.
I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know how to wash. I didn't know how to do anything. And he told my parents, they said, my baby don't, she just can do it. He said, you know what? Say, whatever she does is fine with me. So right. She don't have to cook if she don't want to. Because I would do the cooking. My husband was about 9 years older than me.
Okay.
So we got married, and we had a beautiful married life.
Right.
We had 5 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
And he was a great father.
Okay.
Those girls, they took him from me. They would call him their daddy. Right. And a lot of time I would be jealous because he would take them. He was just a good father. He loved those kids. I wasn't really jealous of the kids,
right.
But I wanted some of the attention that he gave them. And he would always tell me, say, you know you got my attention. Don't worry about it. You my baby too. Right. And he farmed. We had a farm. Okay. That was his occupation, a farmer. Okay. And I was the housewife. Okay. Taking care of the kids. And on March.
Can we just back up a little bit before we move so fast? I want to find a little bit more about your relationship with your parents. Okay. And the types of things that they instilled in you. You said you were the baby, so obviously there was a lot of attention doled out to you. So what do you remember about your parents the most?
Well, I was the baby of the family.
Right.
And I was the tattletale. My oldest sibling would go, and my mama would say, take her with you if she want to go. Mm-hmm. And they would do things that don't tell mama and dad about it. I said, no. That night when we get in the bed, I would tell them everything.
So your parents knew you were the spy?
They knew I was the one to get the news.
Okay.
But I had a good mother and father. They were church workers. My father was deacon of the church.
Okay, what church was this? What church?
Thankful Baptist Church.
Thankful Baptist.
I'm a member of that church now.
Okay. Do you remember some of the lessons there? I mean, obviously, religion and other things that they instilled in you.
We had to go to Sunday school. Mm-hmm. We had to go to prayer meeting. Mm-hmm. We had to go to BYU at church, and they taught us value. Values. My parents really taught me value, to treat others as I would have them treat me. Right. And the main thing my father taught, he didn't like for nobody to steal. And he taught us if you want something, you ask for it. And if you can't get it, then don't bother. Right. And it stayed in me until today.
Okay.
That I don't have, I don't bother.
Okay.
And I taught my children the same thing. Be honest with whatever in their jobs, whatever they do, and to their people that they deal with. Be honest and treat them fair.
Right.
And that's the way I grew up.
Okay.
Loving
Good, right.
everybody. I think if you go in my community, they'll tell you that I get along and I love everybody.
Okay.
And I grew up with that knowledge of treating people like you would have them treat you.
Okay. So now let's talk about your early education. What were the schools like in Baker County that you attended?
My early education, we had to walk to school. And it was about 2 miles from my home.
Wow.
And it would be cold. It would be real cold. And we would get to school and I would tell my daddy, the teacher said, well, we need some wood. And I'd tell my daddy when we get home, I said, Daddy, I said, my teacher said we need wood. I wouldn't sleep until he go get that wood. He had to go get it and stack it up and put it where I could see it to know that we'd have a fight the next day at school. And the buses, the white kids had the bus to ride. They would pass through there with us, those spitballs after us. And we were freezing, and they in a bus. But you know what? We kept going.
Right.
We, you know, at that time, you didn't have no animosity against them because we grew up thinking, you know, that's the way life is.
Right.
It was, you know, back then. And from high school, from elementary, we had to go to Newton, down to the city of Newton, to the high school.
Okay. What was the name of the high school?
Now, Baker County, Newton Baker County Colored High School. They had Newton Colored High School. That's the name of it.
Okay.
But my husband's parents didn't let them go to school in Newton. He let them drive to Camilla. All of his kids was educated in Mitchell County.
Mitchell County?
Because he felt that our school just wasn't adequate. You know, everybody at that time wasn't able to take their kids out of the county.
Right.
But he was able to take his kids to Mitchell County for an education.
Okay. So while you were in school, do any of your teachers stand out? I mean, some of the
yes, I had some beautiful teachers. Some teachers that felt our heart. You know, they were just dedicated teachers. Miss Granberry, one. Granberry. She's from Albany. She taught down there in Baker County. We had Miss Miss Smith from Albany taught us. And we had a teacher, a principal named Miss Spratley in the elementary class.
Spratley?
Spratley. And we had to do what was right. We said Bible verses every morning. We had to pledge allegiance to the flag. And we learned songs, and we learned poems. You know, and those poems and Bible verses is with me today.
Okay.
I think if you start off teaching a child at an early age about God and life and how to live, it'll go along with them. But today's time, they can't teach that kind of thing.
Right.
And I believe that's why we are having so much trouble in our schools, because they're not being taught the right, you know, about life skills. They are not being taught about it. Even now in our school, we don't have home ec anymore.
Right.
And see, those teachers back there taught home ec. They taught you how to sew on buttons on your clothes. They taught you how to cook and how to save. But see, now they don't teach those things, and our children they're so wasteful, and they don't know how to be observant, you know, how to save. And I think if we could go back to some of those old days, our whole kind of world would be in a better shape.
Okay. Okay. So now, what type of student were you in high school?
I was a good student.
Good student.
Average.
Okay.
I wasn't one of those excellent, you know, A students always, A and B.
But you did what you were supposed to do. Okay. So what year did you graduate? And
it was in 1950.
1950. Okay. And now let's move on to the time that your husband, as old folks say, started courting you. When did you meet him, and what do you recall about that first time you met him?
Oh, see, his parents were like mine. We had to go to church.
Right.
And we used to go to BTU on a Sunday evening.
BTU, what does that stand for?
That's for Bible teaching youth class.
Okay, Bible teaching.
And he started looking at me and talking, and I was afraid of him because I knew I wasn't old enough to start dating, as they say. So he kept, we kept going to church, and he kept talking. We secretly courted because I wasn't really old enough. My parents didn't know I was dating him. So after I got to high school, I started playing basketball.
Okay.
And I was living with my oldest sister. And that particular night, he carried me home. And we started talking, and he said, let's go marry. You know, back then, those times, you didn't have to have blood tests.
Right.
So we went to the probate and got married.
How old were you?
14.
14.
But he said, you continue going on to school. We got married. My parents didn't know it. He would come by.
So were you were still living at home? And you were still
I
living
was
at
still
home?
at home, but I was
married?
living with my oldest sister in high school because she lived in a little city where the high school was, and we lived in the country.
Oh.
But he would come to my sister's house, but he was afraid to go let my mom and dad to see it. So some way his brother found out. I guess he told his brother that we had got married. And his brother went down and talking to my mom and dad and told them, say, you know, people sure are married around here. And they say, yeah. Say, I didn't know they were married. Married, so I didn't hear of anybody. He said, did you know your baby daughter had married my baby brother? And that was.
And what did he say? How did he
My daddy
respond?
said, oh, no, I know that's not true.
But I guess they eventually got over it.
Oh, and they was crazy about him. He was so nice to me because just like I said, I didn't know how to do anything. Everything I did was fine with him. I cooked one day, and as I got older, I realized it was a mess. He said, I tell you what, let's not eat. We had rice and something else. He said, let's not eat that, because I had stirred it. I thought you were supposed to stir it. And it got gummy. So he said, I tell you what, let's not eat that today. We go in and get us something else. I said, okay. So we went, and later on he teased me about it. My sisters came up there, and they say, well, you say, I don't know how you making it. She can't cook. He said, I don't care. It's good to me. And he said, everything I cooked was good to him.
Right.
He said, and my sister said, well, ain't no need of you saying that because it's not good. And they kept that up, teasing me all the time about how I cook. But I finally learned how to, because going to school and teachers homemaking, you know, and learn how to do a lot of things. And we got along real good. He never got angry with me about anything. We had our little differences. But we'd always, before we go to bed, we cleared up. Because I said, I'm going home. He said, if you go there, I'm going too. We lived together 18 years. And it was a beautiful 18 years. And as the kids grew, Shirley was my oldest daughter. And she was graduating and we were just looking forward to go. She wanted to go to Fort Valley.
Fort Valley State.
And he teased her, he said, when you look up, I'll be standing out there on that campus to see what little boy you be walking around. And she believed in that too, because I told him if he had lived, all of my daughters would have been old maids, because he just didn't feel like they need to get married. Nobody was good enough for his daughter. I'm sure he would have changed it as they got older. But I teased him now, son, if your dad had lived, you'd been an old maid. They said, we know that. But he was a really good father. And I still miss my husband. It's been 47 years. I never married anymore. And the memory of him still lingers with me. And I can't hardly talk about it up until this day. I really can't. It's something I hope nobody else would ever have to go through. Because when he, coming up this month, March, always a hard month for me, because he got killed in March 15th. And we buried him on the 25th. And we was expecting to have the sixth child. I waited 8 years, and my mother, she was sick, and I told her, I said, I just don't want no more children. I'm afraid it'll be another girl. She said, just try one more time. Try one more time. Said, you might have a boy. And and I told him, I said, well, my mother, and she died that same night when we were talking. I said, we can go ahead on trial for a boy. And he told everybody before he died, the baby was born in June. He gave out cigars in January. Wow. To everybody, because we had a store, he wanted to celebrate his boy.
Right.
He said, they didn't have sonogram back
so
then.
right.
But he told everybody, we built the house. He built the room. He painted it blue. And everything he was geared to the baby, he knew it was going to be a boy. He told everybody.
Okay.
And I said, you know, one thing I said, I guess the law revealed that in him, because he was more happier that time tonight with me being pregnant than he was any other time. Because I don't care where we would go, he'd tell somebody, look at my wife. Don't she look good? We having our boy this time. We having our boy this time.
Right.
But he got killed in March, and the baby was born the 6th of June.
Okay. So,
and the doctors, when I was going to, he told the doctor, said, this my boy this time. So when the baby was born, they wouldn't let me name nothing but Jose.
Right.
they said, don't put nothing but Jose Jr. on this baby. Said, because he wanted him so bad.
Right.
Said, we just hate he didn't see it.
Okay.
But he looks just like his daddy. Okay. I tell him all the time, he even got ways like him. I said, your daddy living in you because you got too many ways like it. So but I thank God for all of my children.
Can we talk a little bit about that day?
All of it. That morning, he got up. We had a store.
Right.
He got up and left me in bed, and he went down to the store. And it was a man staying there helping him with us, a little house down from us. And he got him to come back up to tell me that he was going with this guy had come to get his cow.
Okay.
And I said, okay. And my brother was there. My brother came up and was talking to him.
Your brother's name?
Vernon Hall.
Vernon, okay.
And he asked him to go with him down there for the guy to get that cow. And say when they got around there to the pasture where the cow was, he had been in our pasture about 3 months.
Okay.
He wanted something to say, no, that's my cow over there. It's one of some other cows.
Right.
And so my husband told him, said, no, that's my cow. Said, now, I've kept your cows all this time. You gonna come here and try to take my cow? And he said, well, I tell you what, we'll let the law sell it. And said, my husband walked out the pasture, they fastened the gate, and he shot him.
He shot him in the back?
He shot him right through here.
Right into the heart. Wow.
It might have been a little blood of heart because he lived about a week.
Okay.
When he shot him.
So did you hear the gunshot at all?
I could hear because it was distant from the house.
Okay.
But my brother got him and carried him to the hospital.
Okay.
And the guy what was staying with us working, he came back up there and told me that the guy had shot him.
Okay, and what was his name? Do you remember?
George Williams.
George
Williams.
Williams, okay.
And I don't know, somebody came and and carried me over there. And when I got to Camilla, they had transferred him to Albany.
Okay.
But he was able to talk to me. And all of his brothers came and wanted to stay with him because I couldn't stay with him, so he came to stay with him, his brother.
And so he told you everything that happened, right? He was able to.
Yeah, he could tell everybody what happened.
Right.
He talked. And I really thought he was getting better because I was getting dressed that morning. Looked like every time I would go see him, he would get worse. And they said, well, maybe you need to stay away. I think it was just the idea.
The pain that
Yeah, the pain for him was me.
Thinking that he may have died.
And he knew how I felt. And so I was, that morning I said, I'm going. I said, I don't care what nobody say, I'm going. And just as I got up and got dressed, one of his brothers came in and told me at 6 o'clock in the morning, he passed. And that was an awful time for me and my kids. I hope nobody ever have to go through nothing like that because I had those kids, I never worked, and had them to take care of and expecting a baby. And you know, that was I hope nobody don't ever have to go through that. That was a hard time. And then they started the movement in Baker County. after that. And my kids was involved with it all the way through. But I couldn't because my baby was just 3 weeks old when they started. But they went to jail. But when the people would march and come back, they'd come out to the house and eat and sit out on the lawn. And
you think that helped you sort of begin to heal or begin the process of having people around you?
The whole community just, they
came
just
together.
stood by me, the whole community did. And it really helped. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had loving people in the community like I had. Because I had a sister-in-law stayed with me at night, and I had a friend that lived close to me, stayed until in the night, trying to help us to heal. The kids would come in from school, and that was the really time that they would be with their daddy. You know, he would be there helping with homework and playing with them and doing things, and that was a hard time for them. They just went through so hard a time. But after the baby came, it sort of helped us a lot. We had him to play with, and you know, they never had a brother, and it sort of helped to release some of the pains with them. With that.
What happened to the man who shot your husband?
He finally died. They didn't even lock him up. They didn't even indict him, but he died.
You tried to take him to trial, or you tried to?
We carried it. We tried to.
On three separate occasions, right?
Right.
And the first time, what happened? How?
They had an all-white jury. And all of those men was Baker County men, and they knew him, and they didn't even indict him. So the next time we came to Albany, and nothing happened.
And he was never arrested or questioned anything?
And he used to, well, the main thing of it, going back, he was my daddy's brother.
Wow.
And I grew up with him. You know, I didn't understand it because always he was at our house. I grew up around him.
So you knew this man.
And I don't know what happened. They say he said he was a diabetic, and he just went into, that's what they say he said. He never told me anything. I never talked to him anymore because I didn't even want to see him anymore, because when I would meet him, like my blood would just go up in the top of my head, and I just had to pray and ask God to don't let me feel that way, because I knew it was injuring me. But then somebody told him how I felt or something, and he stopped coming through our way. He'd go around the other way, and he sent word to tell me that he wasn't gonna harm me and the kids. But I just, it was just hurting. It really was.
Okay, I'd like to back up a little bit in terms of, you talked about the Baker County movement, and I'm wondering if your husband was at all political. Was he a person who was registering? I know in 1958, blacks began to start to register. Was he among this group of black men?
We was the first two that registered in Baker County.
Oh, wow.
We got up that morning, he had to go pay tax. And he said, get dressed and come go with me down. We're going to pay tax this morning. I'm going to ask them to, tell them I want to register. So we stopped by my sister-in-law. They had a little cafe down in the city, and told her what we was going to do. And she said, well, I'm going too. Her name was Josie Miller. She said, if you all register, I'm going to register too. And she said, if that man do anything to you, with the two of us, we going to get him. But we felt strong. He knew we were going to back him up, but he wasn't afraid. But the guy what was the registrar, he was so nervous he couldn't hardly even get the paper out for us to register. But he let us register. And so we went back in the community and told everybody that we had registered to vote. And we got people to go down. And then they changed it. The little card that they gave us was a small card, which is you're a citizen of the United States and Baker County, you know. They got a long sheet because they felt like a lot of the people couldn't read it right. And that would stop them from voting. So then we had to get the Justice Department to come in. Sherrod knows came in then, and we got the Justice Department to come in, and they changed it, and we got everybody to vote, registered.
So were you aware of the, like in 1950, there was some bombings in 1958?
That was my uncle. And
Bubba Hall?
my uncle, he tried to vote, and friends of ours, Mr. Benjamin McCunney, Carl Broadway,
right.
and Mr. Aki King.
Joshua Williams.
Josh Williams, that was my uncle. He was an old man, too.
Oh, wow.
He was down in his 80s.
Okay.
But he really wanted to register to vote. And they went out and tried to register. And that night, they came back and bombed his house. Mr. Carl Broadway, they bombed his car.
Wow.
Mr. Aki King, they bombed his car. And Mr. Cunny, they put whiskey, this stump whiskey they call it. It's whiskey that you make.
Right.
They called it stump back then that days. And put it around his house. And they told him that they heard he was running stump whiskey, and he told them he never ran his stump whiskey.
Right.
And they went around the house, they had put it around there and found it. And told him that was it, and they arrested him. And he stayed in jail about 2 weeks. Down in Newton, they wouldn't give him a bond. So
Okay.
he had some friends in Bainbridge, he said. And his pastor got some of his friends to come up and bond him out. And they got him out of jail that way. But they was finna send him to prison.
Wow.
But only by him having a pastor that knew somebody, a lawyer in Bainbridge,
Okay.
they got him out.
Okay.
That was the Gator Johnson at that time.
Okay.
I know you might not have heard him, that was our sheriff.
That was Gator Johnson. Yeah.
Gator Johnson, they
And
called him.
from
You
what
couldn't
I
pass
remember.
through Newton.
Right.
He was just tough.
And he would growl at any time a black person came
Make
near.
a noise.
Right.
Sherrod can go just like him.
Okay. So let's move forward back into the 65 after your husband is killed and the movement sort of takes off, and your house becomes sort of like a meeting headquarters, and Charles Sherrod comes in, and I mean, what are you thinking about this? I mean,
You know what happened to me? At that time when they were congregated at my house, my husband just had built our house. I said him. He stayed 1 week in the house, and he got killed. And it was a lady family cheering service down in Newton. I went down and tried to apply to help me with something for the kids, but they would turn me away. She wrote the guy what was in there, the FHA man. She got him to brought him out there saying that I was violating the law, that letting those people come out to my house, that I had built the house through Farmers Home.
right.
So we called the Justice Department in in Washington.
Right.
And they told us as long as I was paying my payment,
Right.
they had nothing to do with it. And he better not come out there. He almost lost his job from it. And I didn't have any more trouble
Right.
out of him. But they tried to
Intimidation.
take my my house.
So now I understand they did some cross burnings on your lawn.
Oh, after then, they integrated the school down there at Newton. My kids were some of the first ones.
Okay.
The State Patrol blocked them. We couldn't get in there, but they went on to school there and finally got them in there.
Okay.
And they burned a cross in the front of my house. One of my daughters was at the dining room table getting her homework out. And I was in bed, and she said, Mother said, it's a fire here, it's a lot of cars. And I jumped up, and you could see the cross burning. And I tell you what, you can get so angry till you don't think about death. I guess my husband loved to hunt. He was he loved to quail hunt, and he had plenty of ammunition around there. And he had taught those girls how to shoot. So I was giving one a gun, told one to get on the telephone, and I had one. I had the pump gun. And I was on the porch, and I was pumping that gun as fast as I could. I said, if they come, they might get me, but I'm going to leave one out here. So my neighbor saw that the kids called him, and he saw that he got in his car, and he drove down there. And my brother, they got him, and my brother-in-law, Walt Miller, he started shooting, and when he jumped out of the car, drove past them and started shooting, then they started leaving. And I don't know, but I really believe some of them got some bullets in them because there was some firing going on. And about an hour, it was about 50 armed black men in my yard.
Wow.
And we called the sheriff. His sheriff's son was in it because I recognized a lot of those men was there. I recognized because
Right.
I could see from the fire, and they was that close to my house. And so the sheriff talked to, hey, the GPI, we called him out there. He
GPI.
talked to them first
Okay.
instead of talking to me. So I told him, I said, well, you talk to them. I said, it's nothing for me to say. He said, well, I want to get your view. I said, they burned the cross, and I told you. But he said that some of the guys told him they were possum hunting. And they started to warm up and
With a
build a
cross.
fire in
with
front of my house. But I had sense enough to know,
Right.
and my eyes could see what was going on.
You knew what that
So,
represented, right?
right. And we had them, brought them to federal court, but nothing happened of it.
Okay.
Baker County was a county you couldn't get, and it's almost like that right on.
Okay.
Can't get no justice down there.
Okay. So one of the things that I was intrigued about that particular story was that the Treeline phone. I mean, what was that? The phone that you got on to contact people, was that like a regular phone, or was
Yeah, it was a regular.
just a regular phone?
Regular
Okay.
phone. We got on the phone and called
Okay.
everybody that we knew that was in the movement.
In the movement. Okay.
And those men came.
Okay.
And for about 2 months, they watched my house. They come every night and stayed till about 12, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
And so my kids and I could sleep. Because it was a frightening time. It was frightening for me and my kids. Because we was afraid to go to sleep.
Right.
Because you could hear, one night I was in the bed and I didn't let them know what happened. A bullet hit my window and glass was down on the floor the next morning. And one of my daughters asked me why was that glass down there. I said, I don't know. I said, maybe I don't know what shattered, but I knew what it happened.
Right.
I just didn't
Didn't
want
wanna
them to
scare
be afraid.
Right.
So I would take them. They had a flood down there at that time that year, and they wanted to go see the water. And I carried my kids down to see the water, and some of the young white guys were down there, and they was teasing each other and going on about the man killed the coon. You know, they down here, but that coon got killed and all of that. You know, and my kids went through a lot. Even in school, they would be talking to them. They come home crying, and I would tell them. I said, well, all you got to do is we praying. I say, because you going up there to get what they trying to get.
Right.
It's an education. And I said, you try to get all you can while you there. I said, I know it's hurt, because it hurt me just as bad. I said, but we just got to go through it, you know. It finally got better,
Right.
but it was rough. All of those kids that went to school at that time, they really caught it, from the teachers and the kids. My daughter told me one day, said they was in the lunchroom, and one of the teachers came through, let that Negro, said they wouldn't say Negro, let that Negro get by. Said so, so, you know, they could say it, but they said it the way they wanted to say it, so ugly.
Right.
And one day, I had to go up there to the school. They called me. They had my daughter in my baby girl at the airport, in the superintendent's office.
Wow.
And I was so upset. I said, what did she do?
Right.
They said, well, you come to the superintendent's office. She's at there. And the superintendent's office was down in the little town. The principal had carried her down there now. And she's sitting up in there when I got there. And I was so upset. And what happened now, the little thing that happened, she said it was a big, fat white guy that go there. They told her she was liking him. And she had a nephew. Now, he was really handsome. My brother's boy was handsome. She told the white girl that she liked him. And she told the principal, and they carried her down to the superintendent's office, the principal did. And I got there, I told him, I said, now, I didn't like it, and I hope this didn't happen anymore. I said, I wish that girl could get a boy as handsome as my nephew.
Right.
Yes, I said, but that old big fat boy, what she tried to say my daughter like it. And I said, but I wouldn't want her to even say anything to him. But it was rough. It was rough. But they didn't take another one down because they knew I meant what I said.
Right.
And I told them down there with 2 men in the office, my little daughter, you know, and both of them was white. And I was just upset because the way they were treating them, they could have done anything to my daughter.
Right. Okay.
But that didn't happen anymore.
Okay.
And
We're gonna pause for just a second.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
that's okay.
Okay.
I didn't know.
So let's talk about go back to the Baker County movement after '65, and you worked on voter registration. Would you deem it a success? How long was it a real uphill battle, and how long did SNCC stay in Baker County before they started to see any real success?
They stayed in Baker County probably about 2 years off and on.
Okay.
Yeah, Sherrod came in there. And it was the funniest thing. He started dating my oldest daughter.
Right.
Shirley, the one who was in college. And he got married to. I said, "Oh, that's my oldest daughter."
Right.
But he's the best son-in-law and the best husband she could have gotten.
Okay. Okay. So after the movement died, you became somewhat politically active in the community around education. How did you get involved in that?
Well, that's what made me get involved when I went out there and my
right?
daughter was sitting at the superintendent's office.
Okay.
And I knew somebody had to do something. And
to be a voice for the kids.
yeah, I was working. I worked at a lingerie place there in Newton. They had home up and I got a job there. And I was sitting down in the office one day and I said, I'm gonna ask the people what they vote for me if I would run for the Board of Education. So I went to the meeting, had the mass meeting that night. And I got up and I asked them
Where did you have the mass meeting?
We had it down at Springfield Church that
Springfield,
night.
okay.
I asked them would they vote for me if I would run. What did they think about it? And everybody in the church said that would be a great idea if I would run, that they would support me.
Okay.
So that time to pay in, I was gonna go down to pay in, and my cousin said, I'm Juice Williams. He said, I'm not gonna let you go by yourself, I'm going with you.
Right.
And he said, what time are you coming down? I said, well, when we have our break at 10 o'clock, I'll be down and pay in.
Okay.
So I went down and I told the guy that I want to pay in for run for the Board of Education. And he told me how much to pay and all.
How much did you have to pay?
I had at that time was just $35.
Okay.
And so I paid in and I started going around camp. But by the time I got home that afternoon, I paid in to run in the Newton district. That was where the little city, because that's where I always voted.
Right.
By the time I got home, he called me. He said, Grace, say you know that you're not in the Newton district? I said, no. I said, I've been voting all the time there. I thought that's where I was. He said, no. So we checked the boundary, you in Elmondale district. He said, you want your money back? I said, no, I don't care where I am, I'm going to run.
Right.
So he said, okay. And I ran against 2 white guys. And I was in a runoff with one. And I've been on there ever since until 2013 I resigned. I retired from it.
Okay, you just got
But I worked so hard. I tell all the young people, I said, now if you run it, you got to get out and work.
Right.
I said, you got to go and sell your vote to the people. I went from door to door, white and black. And if they were picking peas, I picked peas. If they was picking butter beans, whatever, I got out there and helped with shelling peas and talked to them. I sat there and told them, I said, I'm for quality education for all our children. I want to work for all of the children in Baker County that I'm concerned about. And I ran into one problem with when he was old.
Okay.
He was feeding his hogs out there one day, and I drove up, and he said, can I help you? I said, well, I hope you can. I said, my name is Grace Miller, and I'm running for the Baker County Board of Education. And I said, I would love if you would vote for me. I said, because my platform is quality education for all our children in Baker County. He said, you know what? I might just vote for you because y'all niggas don't give up, do you? I said, no, this one not going to give up. I said, well, I tell you what, I would appreciate if you vote for me.
Wow.
That's the only one gave me a negative talk.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you my experience. My first, I won the election in the runoff.
Okay.
And the guy shook my hand and he said, we will always be friends. And any way I can help you, I'll do that. I told him, thank you, I appreciate it. So when we had the first board meeting, the superintendent said, this is our new board member, Miss Grace Miller. I don't know whether all of you all know her or not. And it was the old man on there, white guy. I mean, he's about 80-something years old. He looked like he was at that time.
Right.
His name was Roy Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And he had lost his billfold. And my daddy found his billfold, and he said, "Who are your parents?" I said, "My daddy's name Joe Hall, my mother's name Nanny Hall." He said, "Joe was one of the best niggas I could say in Baker County. Say, I lost my life saving in my billfold. He found it and he gave it to me." And he said, "I just thought," he said, "I thought I would never get it."
Right.
He said, but he was an honest man.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, you know what? He always taught all of us honest."
Mm-hmm.
So, but when he said nigga,
That
the
made you
other board
cringe,
members,
right.
and the superintendent said, he looked at me, and I guess they thought I was
Gonna
going
say something.
to say something. But I told him, I said, "I can understand Mr. Kelly." I said, "He done said nigga so much, he didn't realize what he had said." I said, "But it was a young guy there." I said, "But Wayne, if you had said it, would have made a difference
Right.
with me."
Okay.
I said, "But Mr. Kelly didn't realize what he was saying. But I want you to understand this." I said, "I was a little worried sometime I might get upset, and I might say cracker, and I want you to take it the way I took it." And we never had any, I worked with them, I never had any problem with them. Because I learned one thing, I had to listen,
Okay.
and I had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to work with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they worked with me. Any problem that we had, they would explain it to me, and if I said my opinion in there, they looked like they would really respect my opinion. And then when I would say something, tell them something, they did the same thing. So we really got along because
Okay.
they saw I wasn't in there to try to be bullied.
Right.
I wasn't in there to try to do. Only thing I was concerned about our kids in Baker County, and that's my thought until I left.
Mm-hmm.
The kids of Baker County. We have a problem with our school now, but I'll be right there. And I tell her, I said, only thing I'm concerned is about our children.
Mm-hmm.
If we can just educate our kids, it will be less welfare,
Right.
it will be less crimes. All of us work together and try to help these kids.
Okay.
And that's my philosophy up until this day.
Okay.
The children of Baker County.
Okay. So I guess in the Baker County movement, what transpired and this is the state of education today, what are some of the larger issues that you think still plague education for blacks and even blacks in Baker County, period? What are some of the issues that trouble them?
Well, the trouble that is the issues now with we got all white board except one, and she just there. They came in there, fired our attorney first, fired our superintendent. He's black. He got in there with the school was in debt. He's gotten our school out of debt, and he's doing a good job. The teachers, the children all respect him, and now they gonna pay him out of his contract. Now the contract is up in June. Well, he's got a year contract, but until June, school is out. They could have let him stay on because the CRCT test is coming up.
CRTT.
CRCT.
Okay.
CRCT test is coming up, and he knows about the testing and all, and they getting him out of there. And they don't respect him at all. The first meeting they had, instead of accepting his agenda, they brought their own agenda. And see, before, when you have an agenda, you're supposed to publicize it. They didn't publicize theirs. They just brought their own agenda, wouldn't even pay attention to his agenda at all.
Okay.
And they not giving no respect to him. And the lawyer let them go. They got a new lawyer. And I know he know better because he's from Albany. He's over every school that is in the South Georgia, Tommy Colton, but he's letting them do
what they want to
get by with things that we know because we've had training, and we know some of those things. So that he's letting them get by with, and it just got everybody upset.
Okay.
Everybody upset in the county about how they're doing our school.
So you think it's going backwards?
It's going. They
back-
trying to get it
take
to
it
go back,
backwards.
but hopefully we can stop it before it go too far.
Okay.
Because a lot of citizens are concerned.
Okay.
They had a meeting on the 28th of February, and it was standing room. There was about 200 people there. Letting them know that they just really is dissatisfied with what's going on, and it's 90% black.
Right.
90% black school.
Okay.
And these people, they don't seem to understand or don't really care. I don't know what it is. I won't say because I don't know.
Okay.
But it just hurt. I know to see things going like they are.
Okay. So when all this stuff began to happen with your daughter Shirley Sherrod a couple of years ago, with the Department of Agriculture, how did that make you? I mean, I read in the book that you called your daughter crying when you first heard about it, but
That was just like the night they killed my husband.
mm-hmm.
When they were trying to keep me from knowing it because
Okay.
they know how emotional I am.
Right.
But one of them called me and told me, did I hear the news? I said, no, I was in bed. They said, well, the guy has fired, we call her Hen.
Right.
And so she had to stop on the highway
Mm-hmm.
and turn her resignation in. I said, what? So I tried to get her and I never could get her that night.
Okay.
So I got up early that morning. And I was just crying all the way going to Albany.
Mm-hmm.
I made it, and when I got there, CNN was at her house.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't talk to her. I turned around, but she saw my car when I passed the window. And I went to one of my other daughter's house. And she asked the man to let her stop long enough to talk to her mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I was crying, so she said, Mother, don't cry, I'm fine. I said, don't cry. I said, I am fine. I want you to know I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, that was a really hurting thing, the way they treated her.
Right.
You know, if they could have let her go to her office, you
Right.
know,
Right.
let her go on to her office, but they stopped her on the highway. My daughter didn't even know anybody on that highway. Anything could have happened to her. And I just don't see the reason for them that she had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But she said they harassed her all the way. She had to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I told them that the bounty hunters would have had to come get me, because I would have made sure I got in the light. I'd have went on to the office,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would have turned in my resignation. I wouldn't have stopped on the highway.
Right.
But, everybody different. She felt like she had to do it.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, she told them to go and review the whole tape,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't listen to her
Mm-hmm.
on it.
And when they finally did.
And then when they told me what was there, I said, I didn't raise no food. I said, if she thought that, she wouldn't have spoke to it.
Right.
I said, I didn't raise no food. I know better than that. I knew she hadn't said that.
Right. Okay.
But those people that came to her rescue, they were so wonderful. The Spooners,
Okay.
they are some nice people.
The Spooners.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They invited us to the birthday party. He was 90 years old and still driving 18-wheelers. I wish you could meet him. They are just
Okay.
as nice as they can be.
That's good. So the community feel in Baker County is still pretty much intact, would you say, in the black
Yeah,
community?
it's not like we would like for it to be. The younger people.
Right.
I found out one thing: if you don't know your history, you repeat your history.
Mm-hmm.
We need to
Absolutely.
get with our kids more about the history and what, because a lot of them don't even know that what happened
Right.
to us, and they don't even know that we couldn't even go to the courthouse and drink water.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even know that we couldn't sit in the same rooms when we go to the doctor. Had separate, colored on one side and white on the other side. A lot of these kids today don't know that because things had already happened.
Mhm.
We had already suffered through it
Right.
and got it for them, and they just don't. I think we need to make sure they get more history of what's going on. It might be make the whole thing, but see now in school they don't give it to them.
Right. Was that something you tried to push on while you were on the school board?
Yeah, but we have one little program
Mm-hmm.
and nothing else about it
Okay.
during the school year, But I think it needs to be a law that the black kids should know the history. Maybe they would do better. Maybe
Okay.
we would do better.
Okay.
And maybe the whole community would do better.
I think
It would be more love, if the younger white and black would know what
understand.
happened. Because I'm sure a lot of the ones now today wouldn't condone nothing like that,
Mhm.
But they just don't know.
Okay. Okay. So about your experiences in Baker County that you think
Well, only thing that I know that I can say, that I had a birthday, I was 80 years old.
oh,
And
Happy
I
birthday.
just thank God
Right.
to be able to help in the community. Because I don't think it's nobody, if you go to, they have 2 roads named after me.
Right.
The school road is named Grace Miller Circle.
Right.
And the road coming by my house is named Grace Miller Road.
Right.
So I'm just so thankful that I didn't die. I didn't wait till I died.
That they
They
honored
did
you.
it while I'm alive.
Yeah.
I got a chance to smell some of the flowers while I'm
before,
alive.
Right. Right.
And I'm just so happy over that, you know.
Okay.
You don't know really how you're touching other people's lives until they let you know. So
Right.
I feel like I have done my best.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do any more, I feel like I have done my best for that county.
Okay.
Because I've been on all kind of boards,
Mm-hmm.
and I've worked honestly with them, and I've earned the respect from them,
Mm-hmm.
and they have earned it from me.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much, Ms. Miller, for. One more question. Okay.
Could you tell me just very shortly what the story of your daughter's problem was, what her position was, and what happened?
She was the first black director
Director of agriculture.
of ag in the state of Georgia. And I just feel like it was a thing out for her from the beginning. Because why would somebody be at a meeting? They knew she was speaking at this NACP meeting. And why would somebody be there to sneak around to try to get some information? So I feel like it was a sort of setup, a dislike that she was there. And that's my feeling about it. It might not be, but that's the way I feel in my heart about it.
So the story was that she went to this NAACP meeting and gave a speech.
Right.
And spoke about.
She was trying to convince the people that how we need to come together. And she said, if I can do it, I feel like it should be done because anybody else could do it. Was her father got killed by a white man when she was young.
Right.
And she forgave, and she tried to help. Only thing she was just trying to say is that we need to come together as a people.
And she told the story of the Spooner, the man
Right,
Spooner
right.
who
And
walked.
the Spooner heard it on one of the sons said he was watching the TV. And he told his mother, went up to the house to tell his mother and father, said, they got your friend in trouble. They said, turn on TV. And they turned on TV. And he said they tried to call, and they couldn't get through, but they called CNN. His son got CNN. And he was at CNN was at her house.
Okay.
And they told her, said, Shirley, I believe this is somebody that you would love to talk to on the phone.
Okay.
And they talked to them and let them know that it was a lie, that Shirley helped them. Because she said they came to her office twice.
Right.
And the white guy they had wouldn't help them, but she found somebody to help them, you know. She said it was at the last minute, but whoever this guy that she got was her friend.
And they were looking for help to save their
Save
farm.
the land, their farm. And they own that farm now.
Okay.
Because they had this birthday, it was in, I believe, November, because it was just getting cold, because I went down, they wanted me to come with them. And it's a beautiful place down there. And they just so thankful. They still, the boys, they all live right there around their father and mother, and they just happy, you know, that they were able to save it. And I'm so thankful to them that they came forward at the right time for her.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Miller, again.
I hope I didn't.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.